Teacher education globally is undergoing rapid change. International organizations are getting into the game of teacher education in ways that we haven't seen before. One of those organizations is Teach for All. Teach for All is a network of national organizations that try to bring the model initiated by Teach for America in the US and Teach First in the UK around the globe.
Unfortunately, despite the fact that Teach for America's model is still relatively contested even within its domestic context in the US, this model has fascinatingly spread throughout the world, and with each year more examples of Teach for All affiliates popping up throughout. And there is a dearth of literature relevant to this subject, aside from a handful of articles, one of which Danny wrote in Comparative Ed Review last year, and a couple of models like Stephen Ball's model transnational policy networks that can apply to help make sense of this, but very little that has been written empirically about Teach for All as a phenomenon. We're hoping that the special issue that we put together here can begin this important conversation and provide a jumping off point for further research in this area.
It's very important to look at the ways in which these organizations are framing the problems of education to make them seem universal when they're in fact highly specific and localized. But there are ways in which the problems and the solutions are being given a context and a language. And both the pieces by Chloe Aman, the piece I co-wrote with my co-authors Mia Walter and Eric Colmenares, and also in some ways the piece by Priya Lalonde, T. Jason Brewer, and Chris Lubienski do that kind of work.
I think this special issue provides some very concrete ways to help make sense of Teach for All as a phenomenon. Specifically, Priya Lalonde's piece with T. Jameson Brewer and Chris Lubienski provides a framework of this international organizational network that helps make sense of the role that Teach for All plays that hasn't been played thus far in the extant literature on policy borrowing or policy travel that has been dominated by a discussion and a literature that focuses primarily on the kind of borrowing that went through the World Bank and other organizations that could stipulate programs along with structural adjustment programs. The whole idea of private borrowing and private lending is still very much new. Danny began some of that with the CER piece, but we're really hoping that that is the direction we can go with here and that we're kicking off.